From the C Squared Studios, this is WedCast, part of the C Squared Radio Podcast Network. Here is your host, Mike Carole.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of WedCast on the C Squared Radio Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mike Carole, and we've got a great show in store for you. We're going to be sitting down in just a bit and talking with Lauren Gonzalez about pop culture and social media and its influence on weddings. And when I started this podcast, I obviously naturally asked a lot of my wedding vendor friends, and we're all in a group in Facebook together. And I said, hey, who wants to be on this podcast? And after the first round of interviews, people were coming like, wow, we had a good time. Thank you for that. You got to talk to Lauren. And Lauren was like, well, geez, thanks. But what are we going to talk about? And the reason I think everybody wanted me to talk to Lauren wasn't necessarily about what we were going to talk about, although the topic that we cover is pretty interesting and makes a lot of sense in the context of the show. But I think they wanted to talk to each other or have her on the show because we've got a similar personality. You know, we're both very sarcastic and very dry sense of humor. And I refer to her and I as like the snark ninjas in the Facebook group. Like we're just kind of waiting in the shadows and all of a sudden some unsuspecting victim is going to leave a comment out there that we're just going to pounce on and make everybody laugh and have a good time. So that's what they do. So it was like they didn't necessarily care what we talked about. They just wanted the two of us to sit down and go and kind of see where it ends up. And so I prepared for this much like I prepared for my conversation with Dominica, which is I did none. When I've interviewed other people, I don't have a script, but I have questions that I want to hit and, where I want those questions to lead me and kind of bullet points and the anecdotes that I want to make sure that I get in. But with Dominica and Lauren, it was just a blank sheet of paper. So let's just start off with, hi, tell us who you are, and then kind of go from there and see where it takes us. And I hope you enjoy it. What we're talking about is sort of the influences of weddings, pop culture, and social media. And I first started noticing it a few years ago. I was finding that I was getting request list with a lot of classic 70s songs, Redbone, Come and Get Your Love, Hooked on a Feeling by Blue Swede. And I like those songs, but I was curious as to why they were popping in. And a lot of them were already songs that I would mix in during dinner because they've got that kind of flashback, takes people back to their childhood kind of vibe. But why were younger couples putting them in their request list? Well, then I found the answer when I watched a little movie called Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Now, if you're not familiar with that, Guardians of the Galaxy is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is this kind of big world that the Marvel superheroes inhabit in all of the different movies and characters popping in and out and kind of, this 16, 20, I have no idea how many movies, but it's all kind of building to this one arc that was Infinity Wars and Endgame. And Guardians of the Galaxy made music almost like another character. And when we had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, that was the thing that people were the most excited for as the soundtrack. What songs are they going to put on it? And so we have younger, I don't want to say kids, younger adults who weren't necessarily exposed to this music when it first originated. Now they're coming at it because they found it in a movie. And that happens quite a bit. I remember when Jamie Foxx did the Ray Charles biopic, Ray, the company that I was working for, the boss was like, oh, make sure you have a lot of Ray, because Ray Charles, because people are going to want to hear that because of the movie. And they certainly did. And so when there's a popular TV show or a popular movie or something along those lines, and a song is featured prominently in it, I kind of make a note and let's file that away because I think that's going to be coming up. It didn't quite happen to this extent, but when Captain Marvel came out, Captain Marvel used 90s as their kind of musical genre, and it took all the songs in that soundtrack took me back to to high school, and at the very end, the last beat of the movie, they jump in with Celebrity Skin by Hole, and I, not lying, I jumped up and I was like, yeah. And people are looking at me like, what's this Yahoo doing? And so I told the people, hey, watch, and I think that we're going to have a resurgence of 90s music. And I think we did, just not Whole Celebrity Skin, which hurt me because it's one of my all-time favorite songs. And similarly, Instagram has kind of changed the way not only couples plan their wedding, but also how they find vendors now. It used to be Google. Way back in the day, it was the Yellow Pages. Then we transitioned to internet directories, Yahoo and Google. And of course, these are also on top of Venue or other vendors' preferred vendor lists, but also directories like The Knot and Wedding Wire. And now Instagram is really the driving force. Couples are not only researching vendors, but they're also communicating with vendors through Instagram. I open up my account and every day I've got a new message. Hey, we're looking for a DJ, or hey, we're looking for this, and Instagram helps out with that. I remember doing a lighting and sound for a networking event a couple years ago at a pretty popular venue here in Temecula. And because it was a networking event, we had a lot of different wedding pros coming in. I brought out just about all the lighting we have and lit it up and everything. And those pictures got put on Instagram, not only from the people at the event, but the venue and all of the other vendors involved. And they tagged everybody. And so I'll get messages. Hey, I saw you were attached to this wedding. We'd like to talk to you about working with us for our wedding. And that's the power. That's the power of Instagram. Not only can you put your work out there, your work is talking, but you can stand right beside your work and kind of listen to it. With Google, you'll type wedding DJ, whatever, and then a bunch of wedding DJ website links will pop up and they'll click on that and then they'll go. But with Instagram, they can see your picture. Ooh, they can have a visceral reaction to it, and they can then communicate with you through direct message. And these are all things that I didn't have when I first started DJing back in 2000, and it just had started to pop up when I started C Squared in 2008, but not to the level it is now. I remember when I first saw Instagram, it was photographers could put their photos up there and use it as like an online gallery that was visible on your phone, because Instagram is, of course, designed to be viewed on your phone. And I thought, well, okay, this now is an easy way for me to kind of take some quick photos and put them up there to kind of tell the story. On the website and promotional material, you want glossy, real professional, good photos. But for Instagram, I felt, you could just grab your phone and just start snapping away. And one of the first pictures that I posted up there was from a wedding I did for another wedding vendor friend of mine. Shout out to Liz. And she was getting married on a yacht in Newport Harbor, and the boat had turned and it was facing the beautiful sunset. And so I just pulled out my phone and snapped the pic and of course threw on a filter, because filters were all the rage at the time. And I put the comment like, I'm on the sea, SEA squared. Okay, stop your groaning. You've been with us long enough to know that that's my sense of humor. So stop it. I wonder if people are going to turn that into a drinking game whenever I do a groaner joke pun like that. So I started using Instagram to do quick little behind the scenes, like, hey, look where I am now. Hey, look where I am. And then even that wasn't good enough. As couples were using it more and more, you had to present your best pictures. And so now there's kind of a rule of thumb of only post the pro pics that the photographers give you, and save your personal stuff or the stuff that you take on your phone, save for Insta stories, because that's a whole nother area of Instagram. See, there used to be this thing called Snapchat, and then Instagram swallowed it. And they have Insta stories now where you're able to do quick little videos and snippets of stuff as you're going about the wedding. And So it's really changed how vendors market to couples. And in full disclosures, we'll talk about this during the interview. Lauren is actually the person that I use to run my Instagram. It got to the point where I was doing so much other things in getting music and the podcasts and all of that things that my Instagram was starting to slip, and people were telling me you need to work on it, you need to get better at it. And I'm like, I just want someone to do it for me. So when I put out there in the wedding vendor Facebook group, hey, I need someone to help me out with my Instagram, immediately everyone said, you gotta go talk to Lauren. You gotta talk to Lauren. And so I did, and so now she's running it, and we talk about that and how Instagram has kind of changed the game. So we have a lot of fun, and I think you'll enjoy it as well. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or iTunes or really anywhere else, click the subscribe button, and that way whenever we release a new episode, you'll know about it. If you're active in Facebook, we do have a Facebook page, C Squared Radio, and you can leave us a comment there as well. Of course, you'll find us online at csquaredradio.com, and you can click on the WedCast link. But enough of the self-promotional stuff. Let's get right into it, our conversation with Lauren Gonzalez. Hi, Lauren. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no pleasure. No pleasure.
No pleasure.
Yes, this is going to be the most excruciating thing you or I have ever done. This is, after we're done with this, you'll be like, wow, I could have gone to a dentist and had a lot more fun. This will be excruciatingly painful. Although the funny thing is when you said, hey, yeah, I'll do it, and I said yes, everyone was like, yes. Even Michelle was like, I definitely got to hear it. I feel like Michelle is kind of programming this show. When someone says I want to do it, if Michelle chimes in, I'm like, okay, I should probably get them. If Michelle doesn't, then I'm like, okay, we are.
What are we going to talk about?
I have no idea where this is going to fall in the pantheon of order or anything, but the first episode just went live yesterday, and we have rave reviews. Leah Faddis said that this podcast is legit, and my wife said she loves it. So I need no further validation than that to move forward. But enough about me and my silly little show. Lauren, won't you take a moment, introduce yourself to our listeners, let them know who you are, what you do, and how you got into what you do.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lauren. I've been in the Temecula Valley for my entire long career. I'm 25 whole years old, so it's been a forever time. I started off at Ponte Winery as a wedding sales coordinator, moved over to Temecula Creek Inn as a catering service manager, went to Callaway Winery, Donza del Sol Winery, and then also in the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been working with Michelle Gerbe Events as a wedding coordinator. So I've kind of just been hopping around out here as we kind of do in the venue world. But I've always been in weddings. I went to college for hospitality management. I knew I wanted to be a wedding coordinator and in the wedding world since I was young, and planning like my 5th birthday party was just the highlight of my life. So I kind of knew that that's where I wanted to head. So yeah, I feel like I've done a lot. I've been a few places and got to meet some great people. I love it here.
You do have a little bit of an extensive resume, so to speak, and that's the fun thing is you've got kind of both sides of it. That's the interesting thing that we're going to dive in here, but also something of note is Lauren, you also actually do the social media Instagram for a company, don't you?
I do. It's like my secret little hidden thing. I try to stay on the back end of it.
Well, it's not so.
It's not a secret anymore.
It's not so secret anymore. And
no,
the
I
reason,
feel like everywhere I go, I do it. I always somehow take over an Instagram like once a week.
Well, and for those of you who aren't in on the joke, it's my company that she actually. Well, as soon as she starts, she'll be doing it. So. This is now taking a whole nother turn. This is Lauren. Come on in, and you're gonna be getting 2 letters coming up soon.
Oh goodness.
But that's what when I was looking for, when I put the word out, I'm like, hey, I'm looking for someone to take over my Instagram. Everybody immediately said Lauren, and so that's kind of what we're going to be focusing on here. And the other thing is, in talking with you and getting to know you the past couple of years as I do, you are a lover of the same kind of pop culture that I am. And so we're going to be talking a lot about that, how that influences weddings and so on and so forth. So from your role as we're gonna focus on kind of the venue side, and then talk also obviously a little bit about the personal coordination side as well. But how has Instagram kind of came in and changed the business? Because you started, when did you start at Ponte?
2015-ish.
So Instagram was a thing, but it was pretty much just Instagram. I mean, Snapchat was barely starting to come around. There was no TikTok or anything like that. So how has social media changed the game?
Yeah, I think Ponte really helped me understand how big social media is an influence, and the whole marketing team there. I just remember being just enamored by what they were doing, and they did just a phenomenal job at marketing only certain stuff. And I remember thinking when I was working there, like, why aren't we posting all these photos? We keep getting all these galleries back, and just understanding how they were marketing towards their ideal client, how that helped them build their portfolio, and how yes, they were posting similar weddings multiple times, but it was exactly what they needed to do to attract the type of bride and groom that we were looking to work with. So it kind of started there with the importance of social media. And then when I moved over to Temecula Creek Inn, and Cara Benthal, who I love, she was handling a little bit of the Instagram and kind of the marketing there, but there wasn't any real focus on it necessarily at that point. So I decided to spend an astronomical amount of time curating photos from galleries and trying to increase engagement there. So I think just being able to see the back end of things, and Instagram has such great like analytics and things that you can look into for people who are basic users like myself, can kind of get a gauge on how things are going, what kind of things are interacting better. So I think just seeing how the change in how you market and social media and all of that, and the differences between the venues that I've been at, and I've had the luxury of being at venues that are pretty renowned in the area and are some of the top venues, and seeing how their marketing directly affects the inquiries and how it's going to change based off of different things that they're posting was just so interesting to me. I don't know why people trust me with their Instagram.
I'm starting to wonder why as well.
I know. I feel like it's so dangerous. And I really feel like it's such a hard job. I don't know how people are full-time marketing, but it's something that I've kind of grown and loved to do as well. So I just have a fun time writing sarcastic, witty stuff and seeing if people will laugh at it. And they have so far. So I guess it's kind of worked out for me.
Well, and that was ultimately what did it for me. Okay, all of a sudden now my office line is going to ring. Let me close that off. Oh, this is behind the scenes.
It's hard being so popular.
Yeah,
my phone hasn't dinged in like a year.
It's probably someone wanted to sell me health insurance, or my computer's got a virus, or
yeah,
something
Send
other.
Me your social.
Something other than that. Wow, way to ruin the whole entire interview, phone. I can't work
Start
on these.
over.
I can't work on these conditions anymore. And that's actually why I gravitated towards you, is because we do have that kind of very same sarcastic, dry sense of humor. It's like we speak two languages, English and sarcasm. And sometimes I forget who I was replying to the other day, but I had to actually say, no sarcasm at all here. This is what you do, and it's really hard. Because if I come out and say, yeah, what you do is really hard, they're going to be like, thanks, Mike. No, I mean it. I'm being genuinely serious. Now, from a bride side, because I was doing a panel once where we had brides, and one of the brides actually asked, why are you posting? What goes into posting this versus this? So, how are brides looking at Instagram? How are they using it to plan their wedding, to get inspiration or to sift through, the deluge of information that they're bombarded with.
Yeah, I think it's so important to kind of look at each couple too. And I feel like I've had the realization lately that the amount of social media or engagement that certain couples have kind of tell me who I want to be working with and also who wants to be working with me. So for clients that I really typically end up having a great vibe and connection with, they're the people that have maybe been kind of planning on, a little bit of Pinterest, maybe just been kind of saving things or screenshotting things on their phone off Instagram. And then once they start, maybe get the ring or maybe a little bit before the ring, start saving things more and more. So kind of start following those hashtags. I would love to think that all the hashtags and all of that really makes a huge difference. But I do feel like a lot of our couples stumble into this like Instagram hole, which I am 100% guilty of you click on one vendor and then you're like, oh, that's cute. Let me go click on this thing and tags and all these different hashtags. So I think just kind of trying to create content that connects everybody is really helpful for the vendors, because brides are going to be like, they're not going to go, and you can't really type like wedding coordinator Temecula. It's not the same as Google search. So you kind of have to figure out what people are looking at. What I found on the back end of doing the Instagram for like venues and then also for myself for the business is that hashtags do work, but it's more so about engaging and making yourself known. So I think the interaction with the brides is super helpful for them. Then they can see your stuff, find other people. I can't even tell you how many people and how many inquiries we've got where it's like, oh, I saw you on so-and-so's Instagram, blah, blah, blah. And kind of use that social media throughout the process. I've got screenshots from brides that are like, I'm looking at this, and it's like some random like Russian bridal wedding thing that I've never heard of before. And it's just screenshots and stuff. So I think that Instagram's super important. I think especially with like the newer generation and all these TikTokers coming up, which I feel old for that, but that's okay.
Is that the official term we're calling them, TikTokers?
I think so. As a not TikToker, I think that's what I'm going to call them. But I feel like the millennial, the Gen Z, all of that stuff is so important to understand how they engage on social media. But I feel like we still have to remember the people that don't really care about social media. And I talked to a potential client a few days ago that's from a different state, and they're like, we just don't really care about social media. So I think it's so important, especially for the culture we're trying to attract in Temecula specifically. But I think just understanding that it's different for everybody. Not everybody's the same comfort level on social media. So making things as easy as possible has helped a lot of my brides. And then also just like, they love when vendors post. They love, like, when I post stuff with you, Mike, people like laugh in the comments, and it's probably because we're being stupid, but we're like doing something stupid at a networking event. But I feel like it's such like a personalized experience for the couples to get to know you and see your personality, because like they don't always get to see that.
Well, and that, funny enough, was the whole idea behind starting the podcast and the other one, the Untitled Music Project, because I had a bride who was, I think she's somewhat in the wedding industry. She does invitations and graphic design, but more on a broad level. And I actually met her at a networking meeting, and within like 5 minutes of talking with her, she's like, I'm engaged, you're doing my wedding. And I'm like, oh okay. And in talking with her, she said, Mike, you've got a great personality. It doesn't come through your website. And how can it come through my website? A website is just blank and boring. And so that's why I decided to do the podcast, so that more of my personality could come out there. But also that's the advantage of Instagram, is you get to, and it's a balancing act, like, because I can, believe it or not, I can rein my personality and sarcasm in. So I run the gamut of, do I put this out there? Do I don't? And I go from, no, I can't share too much, to, you know what, if a bride's not going to book me because I'm putting this out there, I probably didn't want to work with her in the first place.
Yeah, I got more interaction and responses when I was posting about the Bachelor and Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise than I do when I post any wedding related thing. Like every single bride I have was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you think that too. So I think it's so helpful. It makes you feel more human, and I love the couples. Like, I want to talk to them and be their best friends. So it's fun for them to have this chance of social media, especially during this fun time of quarantine for them to get to know us a little bit better and kind of like have a normal friendship with people. So it's fun. It can be troubling too.
Okay, serious question here. We're going to dive deep into the woods now. You know, I'm on board with the guilty pleasures. I think I enjoy the Real Housewives and Love Is Blind and Tiger King and all that fun stuff. What is it about The Bachelor? I can't dive into it at all. And I mean, you would think that it was tailor made for me. What is it? What am I missing or you know, psychoanalyze me. Why am I not gravitating to The Bachelor? That was a lot to dump on you at once, Lauren.
Let me call a therapist out real quick. I don't blame you for not getting into it recently because the most recent seasons have been terrible.
I mean never. I mean, yes, in people that I know that do watch The Bachelor, they have said the past few seasons have not been good. But I from day one, I was like, nope, I'm tapping out. That to me is a bridge too far. Oh, and disclaimer to all of the brides out there who are listening, who are Bachelor fans, no judgment whatsoever. I mean, don't get me wrong. I watch a lot of, we'll just say, bad TV.
Yeah.
And my wife hates reality TV, so she sits there and says, I can't watch this.
Yeah, I think it's so good though. I think for me, like what really started me watching it, I started watching it back like not at the beginning. I was pretty young when it came out, but I started consistently watching probably like 5 years ago. But when I started watching, I was looking at like the date setups and I was like, oh my God, that's so pretty. I love how they did like the lanterns and the trees. And like, I was looking at it from a logistics point of view. And I think that's what has kept me engaged is like, yes, the drama's hilarious. I think the editing is the best thing in the world. And they just make these people look so stupid. But I think like for me, it was such like a fun creative outlet of being like, oh, that's so cute to go to like the top of a hotel, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of like showed me design and stuff. So I think it was educational. I don't think anybody else in this world will ever say that the Bachelor franchise is educational for them. But I don't know.
I got to say, Lauren, that's a first for me. You're like, oh, it's just job research.
It's research and development for sure. And you have to drink wine while you do it, and then you're learning about wine. So, and then it's like a social thing now. It's fun. I don't know. Maybe we'll invite you to a bachelor party and like a bachelor watching party. And we'll see how you do. If you could watch Tiger King, you can watch The Bachelor.
The last one that you hosted at the venue that shall remain nameless. I was at another wedding show that day, and I was spent. I was absolutely spent. But a bunch of others were like, "Oh, we're going to that place to watch The Bachelor." And I'm like, "Oh, I should go, but I'm tired and I want to go home." So I will take you up on that. That's what we can do. We'll do a WedCast watch along on the Bachelor. You'll come up with like your top 3 episodes that I have to watch, and we'll watch them together. It'll be fantastic. And I'm not gonna lie, Lauren. When I got you on the podcast, there was a good chance this was going to be some kind of watch along.
Oh, absolutely. No, plans are being made. I need human interaction so bad. I feel like I haven't seen people in forever. I went to Costco and I saw like 200 people and I was like, this is so much fun, guys.
And you probably look foolish when you went up to each and everyone like, hi, I'm Lauren. You want to chat for a little bit?
No mask, no gloves, just coughing all over everybody. Yeah.
Now, from a venue standpoint, what are the like? Obviously, when you're doing your own personal Instagram, you can kind of put you out there because you do want to attract, couples that think like you, that have a connection to you. From a venue standpoint, how do you find that how do you attract the bride that the venue is looking for?
Yeah, it's so much more broad with the venues, and you're not necessarily always looking for a certain specific type, but you're kind of looking for a range. So I think for me, the hardest thing was remembering like not every couple is the same. And just because this is kind of the idea, making it so inclusive, because at the end of the day, you're going to be attracting all different types of couples. So for the venue standpoint, I think just remembering just because something's not necessarily like my cup of tea in a photo doesn't mean that someone's not going to connect with it, and keeping things open and broad and also inspiring. I think like the cool things that are being done at venues and all of that stuff is posting about that is awesome, but also the things that people could do with a smaller budget is helpful for venues and kind of seeing how the space transforms. So you have to, it's hard because I just like always want to post cute photos of like romantics and the vines and all that. And I'm like, but this could be taken anywhere. You can freaking throw a rock in Temecula and find a vine. So I think keeping things connected to the brand and understanding generally as a brand where you want to head, what kind of photos you want out there, what kind of content you want to get back. And I think, I don't know who originally said this, but I am going to direct quote Michelle Garibay, what you put out is what you get back. And I think that's been a huge factor in the venue specifically of whatever we're going to put out there. If we're going to post the photos with the burlap in the mason jars, that's what we're going to back. So I think it's been a learning experience. There's such a broad spectrum of people looking. I mean, people are coming from Canada and New York and across the countries and across the freaking oceans to come to these different venues, and just making sure that things are attainable for them.
How can Instagram work? Because you're right. Temecula is a destination area, even, like you mentioned, Canada, New York, all over the country, but also like Orange County and San Diego County and LA County. People are flocking here. How can Instagram, kind of facilitate that?
Yeah, I think we got to go to them. We got to go to the brides that are tagging Orange County and their stuff and engaging in the Orange County area. We have to go to them because it's that thing of you don't know what you don't know. And for couples, I mean, I had a couple recently that had to reschedule their wedding for COVID, and they had no idea about a certain venue. And because of Instagram, they were able to find a different venue that through hashtags and whatnot. So I think it's so important when I'm doing the venue Instagrams is tagging different areas, specific areas, trying to figure out what hashtags work best in those areas. But we got to go find them. So what I'll do typically on an Instagram is go to some sort of tag of a location where I know engagements happen a lot, go to that place and start just like liking all the engagement stuff so that we get a little bit more traction in that area. I'll do it on my personal account or on my business account for like the wineries out here, and kind of go to that location and just start liking things and engaging with people on there. But I think until we get a little bit more traction in Temecula, until it's like really a place on the map for destination, we gotta put in the effort and go out and find these people and interact and just try to make them know like, hey, we are here. We're great. We have wine coming out with
us. What is the difficulty in standing out? Because like you said, a picture in a vine is a picture in a vine. I remember when my dad and I were both huge baseball fans, and we went to Wrigley Field in Chicago. And Wrigley Field is this very iconic baseball stadium, and we asked an usher to take our picture, and he's like, okay, turn and put your backs to the scoreboard, because the baseball stadium is all the same. It's just a bunch of empty seats. And that's kind of, unfortunately, that's the stigma that Temecula has. I worked with a photographer once, and they flat out said they live in Temecula, and they're like, if I shoot another winery wedding, I'm going to bang my head on something, because vines are vines. How can venues and even from the personal planner side, how can you change that?
I think what we're kind of running into, in my opinion, is the winery weddings, and it might be different for me. I feel like it's kind of like been there, done that. So I think people are starting, and especially venues, starting to understand that it has to be more than the vines. The vines are just like the bare minimum now. And the cool architecture and the other like manicured florals and different colored things and just different seating arrangements, the other decor and the other aesthetic is what's going to completely set you apart. I mean, the building itself, you can't change at the end of the day, but things like even like the bridal suites and the groom suites and how those have been stepped up over the past few years by so many venues, and able to take photos in those and get more content out there that like, hey, we're different and you're not going to find this anywhere else. And it's attainable. You're still going to get your vines, but you're also going to get this really cool other view or this really cool other aesthetic that nobody else is going to have. Because at the end of the day, in Temecula, if you go down Rancho Cal, you're bound to run into a winery with a barrel room, vines, and a tasting room. Like that's everywhere. So setting things apart, luckily the barrel rooms are pretty different in this area. So that's a little bit easier. I mean, for me, they look so different. For the average bride, they're like oh, it's just another wall of barrels.
It's either big rectangular box, small rectangular box.
Yes. Yeah. But for me, they're so different. So I think just showing different content, I feel like Temecula's done a really great job in the past few years of adding more design into the aesthetic and not just doing things willy-nilly, having intention in what they're doing and making things comfortable, making things feel personalized for couples, not throwing too much color and decor at people so that they can really transform the space. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, you can only post so many sunset photos, but everybody wants a sunset photo. That's what's going on your wall when you get married.
Yeah, it really is. And what's the balance? Because you mentioned, you got to give the bride the creative freedom to kind of plan in her space, but at the same time, we human beings by nature are visual creatures, and they kind of need to see something. So how do you give them the idea of, hey, look what you can do in this space, but at the same time give them the creative freedom to kind of design the space themselves?
Yeah, and I think it's also a balance of something that's, because we could post these photos of weddings that are $100,000, but on the average, that's not going to be what the spending of certain venues, certain clients are. So I think a good mixture is like, I mean, I always focus on the 9 squares, whatever 9 squares you see when you first start scrolling, is making sure you have that sunset photo and the vineyard photo. People know that, yes, there are vines here that are attainable and accessible. Posting inspiration, posting people, and posting something kind of not average, but something that's super attainable. So something that's going to be not necessarily a huge upgraded cost that you feel like you're getting this value for. So I think for Instagram, the biggest thing is you're trying to sell your value, because I mean, the venues are very similar. You're getting a lot of the same things at different venues. There's very minor differences between them, but the value behind it has to come across on Instagram.
For me as a DJ, the A+ shot is someone on the dance floor, hopefully the bride or the groom, dancing, smiling, having a good time. This is going to be a two-pronged question. For a venue, what's the A shot? And then for a planner, what's the A shot?
Oh gosh. For a venue, I think it's a mixture of things. I think they definitely want to see that ceremony spot and the backdrop on that, because that's kind of the big moment in their head of what's going on. And then the reception background as well. I think just the overall aesthetic, I think wide shots don't always perform that well on Instagram, but I think they're really appreciated. And they're the ones that I see being most saved, is the ones where you could see all the tables and all the chairs and all of that. So I think for venues, it's the actual venue itself, but obviously you need to throw in some like cute kissing photos, or like somebody bring their dog so we could put that on there. And then for planner, it kind of depends on what we're going for. For me specifically, in trying to transition and more of the design and more of a more involved planner for clients, doing things that are more connected to the couples and making sure that people know, like, I do love my couples, and I know like everything, I know what their cats' names are, but like obviously I love cats, so that's that's the first question I ask on an inquiry. But just kind of focusing on things that I love and things that inspire me. And I mean, all of my Instagram posts, you could probably find something on there that's like A, sarcastic, but B, something that inspires me or something that I love. And for me, it's about showing my passion and my love for the wedding and events industry. And it's not just it's a photo, but there's so much meaning behind it for me even. And there's photos, I just posted one recently that was taken like 5 years ago. And I just absolutely adore this bride and groom still. And I've watched them have kids and watched their dog grow up. Like, for me, it's so much more than just the pretty aesthetic of the photo. It's trying to convey to people in the captions that like, this is a passion. Like, I love doing this. This is my life. So I'm trying to make more of like a connection with people.
So what potential couples could be taking away from this is with you, not only are they getting a planner, but they're also getting a potential dog sitter down the road. So if you have that dog and you're afraid to go on a vacation, that's great. Hire Lauren, and she will not only plan your wedding, but then, when you're on your honeymoon, she'll watch your dog for you as well.
Absolutely. And if you have any animal, reptiles is like TBD. I'm 50 on reptiles, but any animal, I think that's so much fun. Is I had a bride and a groom, they had their their guest book essentially was a canvas where it was a cartoon of them and all of their animals, and people got to go up and sign it. And I thought that was so cool, and they just adored their animals. So little personalized things like that. And then also we could just talk about people's animals forever, because that's always we can talk about The Bachelor and dogs and cats. Like, come on. So
I have both. I have 2 cats and a dog, and I want to get like they're so pets are like kids. Everybody thinks their pet is just adorable, and there's some ugly pets out there. 2 of my dog, Noops the Beagle, and my male cat, the oldest one, Spider Pig, the Maine Coon. They
over Spider Pig. Yes. You can't just throw that out like that's a normal name.
It's in our house. It is a normal name. It goes back to the Simpsons movie. So the other thing is the other reason we can get along is we both love pop culture, and we love how we can interject it into like casualness and just drop something like that. So in The Simpsons, there was a Spider Pig, and my wife and I said, whenever we get a cat, we're going to name it Spider Pig. And sure enough, and he's this big fluffy Maine Coon, and he'll sit on my lap, and every time I go to get a picture, he turns away. I'm like, damn it, why will you not, help me out? This is going on the gram, and he just doesn't care. And same thing with my beagle Noops. My third cat, Guinness, she's mean. But she loves, like, I'm her favorite. Like, I believe my cat thinks that her and I are married, and that I'm cheating on her with my wife.
You have some relationship issues with your animals.
I think so. Did you know that this episode of WedCast was going to take a very different turn, and people listen like, what the hell are they talking about now? But that's the fun of this show, is we just go with it and see where things take us. How is pop culture creeping into weddings?
It kind of, and it really, with more that are coming out, more movies, more shows that kind of include, like Crazy Rich Asians, I think was that movie where the huge wedding was in there, and everybody's trying to replicate it, and Twilight, and oh my gosh, they're coming out with a new book. Read it, but that's different place.
We will not be doing a Twilight follow along, and I have seen all the Twilight movies. I actually was the one that dragged my wife to them, so I will fall in this. Huh? Was I team Edward or team Jacob? Did I get those names right?
Yeah. This is gonna make a big. I'm gonna hang up if you're the wrong one.
Well, now there's pressure on me. This show is going so well that you hanging up on me would probably just be the icing on the cake. But we haven't even gotten to Fast 5 yet, so you got to stay. You got to stay on for that. Who was the werewolf? Jacob was the werewolf, right? Yeah, I was team Jacob.
Oh my God. Okay, no wonder we're best friends, Mike. Is that an overthink?
But then at the end, when he fell in love with her daughter, it just and here's what did it for me. And if people haven't stopped listening at this point, nothing will. The last movie, Breaking Dawn Part 2, had the most epic fight scene in the history of cinema. I mean, this rivals Star Wars. It rivals Lord of the Rings. Goodness. Epic fight, and then at the end you realize that fight never even happened. That's where I seriously stood up in the movie theater and said, that's bullcrap, and then sat back down and finished the movie, because I'm not stupid. Yeah. But I hated it, and that's why I can't get over it. It's like you have this whole big epic fight scene, and then all of a sudden that's what will happen if you push this any further. I'm like, no.
It's stupid. It really quickly turned into terrible cinema, but this has also quickly turned into Dr. Phil, which is my favorite daytime talk show, if that says anything about me. Okay, wait, pop culture.
Yes.
It's creeping. Back to why we're here. It creeps in everywhere. I think it helps inspire people. I know even Schitt's Creek just had their finale episode with a wedding, and I know things are going to be coming into the wedding world from that. So I think it's so much fun when couples have something in common, whether it's The Office or some show, or they love Star Wars or Disneyland or whatever it is, and they get to incorporate those things, and it just connects people, and so many people can relate to things, but it's also so personalized for the couple, and they have their own little language about why these things mean so much to them. So I think it's so helpful to create a personalized experience, which is crazy to think like this broad public cinema or this broad public thing is so personalized to these couples, but it is creeping in. I feel like things like Say Yes to the Dress is like another good thing where brides now can kind of just watch TV and be like, "Ooh, I like that dress. I want to like see if there's anything like that." So I think it's just been, you know what? We can't stop pop culture, and we need some good drama. I need anything in my life right now to occupy my time. But yeah, I think the references are so much fun. I love like when people have vows and they say things that are like some super romantic quote from a movie or a show or something. Melts my heart, gets me. It's like the only thing that will get me. But I think it's just cool. I think pop culture is like it's never going to go away. We just keep integrating it, and whatever is meaningful to the couples.
And
that's
and it's finding the little ways to include them. Like I will do a lot. Like I had a wedding where the bride and groom, their grand entrance song was something from Schitt's Creek, and I've had couples come into the Office theme, but small little tiny ways to like maybe there's a picture in the show, and that picture is somewhere in the mise en scene of the reception at some point. Like you said, little personal things in the vows, but it's you brought it up, and this is the cool thing is as I'm doing the show, I'm learning so many aha moments. Like if these two elements, like if a couple are together and they share a bond over Disneyland, why wouldn't you want to have that be a part of your reception? I mean, we're looking to make the most special day of their life more personal to them. Nothing's more personal than pop culture.
Yeah, I think I kind of had like a big phase recently where I realized I don't watch enough movies. And I had a couple last year that they got married on, I guess, something that's relevant to Back to the Future. I
Okay.
have not seen
if I'm not mistaken, and a friend of mine, Martine, will kill me if he's listening to this. I'm pretty sure it was October 15th, and then I can't remember the date, either 2015 or 2014. Maybe 2012. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that was the date that they're referencing.
Yeah, and they're like, we're gonna walk into like the song, or I don't know what it was, and I hate to say this, but I had no idea what they were talking about, and I was like, yes, let's do it. But it doesn't matter what I know. It's just, and then they ended up doing their grand exit to Fantastic, so they worked in Disney and all the things, so love that. But yeah, pop culture is fun. It brings you new songs, it brings you new ideas and it's just cool to like see how inspiring just a stupid TV show like The Office. Are you kidding? People are now replicating Pam and Jim's wedding. Like that's so cool.
There's a venue out there in Oceanside that I'm on the preferred vendor list, Paradise Falls, and I could not for the life of me figure out why so many couples getting married at Paradise Falls had a Disney connection. I used to be one of the Disney DJs. I've done a lot of Disney fairy tale weddings, and so I was there a lot. And then I'm watching Up, not for the first time, but for like the umpteenth time, and that's when I realized that Paradise Falls is a reference to Up. And I don't know if that's what the venue owners were thinking when they named it Paradise Falls, or if it was just a happy coincidence. But that's why so many Disney weddings, and so couples are finding any which way to tie everything together and to create a cohesive unit.
Yeah, I love that. Make it personal. It's your day.
Exactly. I mean, I tell the story all the time of my wife and I. Our grand entrance song was "Bro Hymn" by Pennywise, which is a song about a band member dying, but it's also the song they play when our hockey team scores a goal. And so me and all my friends who are all into hockey knew it and instantly reacted to it, and everyone else was like, well, what's that?
Yeah, why is he marrying him?
But it's funny you mentioned, having to watch more movies. Isn't that, isn't on the personal coordination side, isn't that kind of a must? Don't you have to kind of keep abreast of pop culture, and you want to be, you want to be on top of things as opposed to, having to react to them.
Yeah, I think that's probably another reason why I religiously watch The Bachelor, because I feel like, yes, I love it and it's a guilty pleasure, but it also helps me connect with other couples that enjoy doing that for fun. So I think for me, I never got on like the Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter thing. So I think I'm slacking there. I don't know what it would take me to sit down and watch 30 hours of Harry Potter, though. I think I would have to be intoxicated for that. But I think staying up to date on the things that are more relevant, like the cute wedding movies and stuff. And obviously, I've seen every freaking wedding movie that's come out since before I was born. But just keeping up to date on the references, and TikTok is killing me because now I have to make one, and I should be like on it all the time and know what these youngins are talking about. But yeah, it's hard to keep up with everything. I mean, we have this really great opportunity right now where I have nothing but time to watch every episode of every show ever. But I don't know. I just can't get to that point in my life yet.
Like,
I haven't given
the joke that people said, okay, I've ran out of everything that Netflix has to offer. What's next? Or the memes that, I've come to the end of the internet. And that's very similar to what we have here. What are some of the differences, because you do the personal side, you also do the venue side. What are some of the differences between venue coordinators and personal coordinators?
Oh Lord, they're so different. And it's hard because the lines are so blurred. And if you don't know the back end and get the explanation, then on the surface, you're like, they have the same words sometimes in that. So like, they're just the same thing. But the easiest way to explain it is just like looking at the word itself of venue coordinator. It is coordinating for the venue, only venue related items specific to the venue. Like the word venue could not be more clear. And venue coordinators have been kind of tasked with stepping in when there's not a coordinator and able to like run a rehearsal and whatnot. But at the end of the day, their loyalty is to the venue. And all that they're there to do is make sure that your vendors at the end of the setup time are done. It doesn't matter what's going on during that time. Like, yeah, we'll try to step in because, I mean, everybody in weddings has such a good heart that I've come across and is going to just do whatever they can to make these things happen. But at the end of the day, the venue coordinator is collecting your food and beverage order, collecting your counts, making sure that the venue is providing their contracted setup items. And that's really it. And most of the times, which is a great thing about being a venue coordinator, is you get to leave when dinner gets served, because at that point I'm irrelevant. And it's like, well, the banquet captain could handle it, DJ can handle it, all of that stuff. So venue coordinators, I feel like the biggest thing is they get sold off as a day of coordinator. They're there on the day of. That word is being eliminated from our vocabulary, as we all know now after watching the first podcast. But it's so specific to the venue, whereas hiring a coordinator is that personal experience. We don't have anything to do with the actual food and beverage you order unless you ask us our opinions, because we've probably eaten at that venue 100,000 times and can tell you exactly how the chicken tastes. But at the end of the day, what the private coordination and the personal coordination does is you're getting an experience that's going to be custom tailored to you. You're getting somebody that has your back, that knows exactly what it is that you're looking for, what environment, what atmosphere you're trying to create for your wedding, design-wise, like all the senses, everything that you could possibly think of. We are trying to advocate for you. And then also the logistics, which logistics is my favorite word. And I've realized that over the past 2 years is that I use the word logistics like no one's business. Logistically, we're handling everything. We're making sure that the stuff that isn't related to the venue, which is maybe like 60% of the wedding, is not specifically related to the venue. It's related to your other vendors and the timeline and all of that. We're making sure that all goes down. So all of the work, the timelines, everything, all of the work that goes into it, we are kind of guiding you. I feel like we try to like if somebody was like treading water, we're kind of like the little life raft that we're like, we're going to carry you. We're still in the water together, but like, we're going to make it off the Titanic alive. So I feel like we're here to help. We're here to help with everything that honestly the venue coordinators can't do. Also, venue coordinators, a lot of times, I think when I was at Ponte, I was doing like 75 weddings a year myself. And then the other coordinator was also doing a high number, so like 75-ish. You're not the only wedding that's happening for a venue, but for personal coordination, a lot of times you are going to be that main focus. And some people only take 2 weddings a month or 1 wedding a weekend, however it breaks down for them. But we're going to be here to to really give you that personalized, make sure you're getting what you want and not just what's standard, and trying to make things as individual to you as a couple as possible, and also help like your family. And we're there to clean up.
We are just about ready to wrap things up, but before we do, I'm going to ask one more question that's going to stir up a ton of controversy, but I think you're uniquely suited to answer the question. I mean, doesn't ultimately at the end of the day, sales are what drives the business? Don't venue coordinators, because of the competition, don't they kind of have to constantly kind of keep moving the goalpost and yes, we'll take care of that for you. We'll take care of that for you, because they know that venue Y down the street is probably saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think there's a culture, and I know in the recent years, the culture has really started to shift where venues are requiring or highly recommending a coordinator, whereas a few years ago when I was starting off, that wasn't the case. And the case was that we are your day of coordinator. We are here for you to set up your personal decor and make sure everything's running on time, all of that. But essentially it became this game where like, not even that the managers were telling us to do it, but we kind of were just like, this is going to help us make the sale. It was almost offering empty promises. They always got done at the end of the day, but we were just having to like kind of overpromise to make sure people were going to like still book us and make things happen. But what that leads to, and what it led to at the venue, some of the venues I've been at, is a lot of burnout, because these coordinators are putting in so much extra time and energy on top of what they're actually supposed to required to do. And then they get burnt out, and then they go to the next venue, which is a whole nother conversation of why you should have a private personal coordinator, is because the venue coordinators aren't going to be there forever. They can move.
Yeah, and it's something that like I see both sides of it. Like obviously I understand that a personal coordinator they've got your back. The venue coordinator more than likely, and this is not to put anybody down. Everybody's got a job to do. Venue coordinators have a job to do. They've got sales they have to meet, and so on and so forth. But it always seemed to me as when personal coordinators go, venue coordinators need to stop doing this. You know, I'm kind of the one going, well, venue coordinators are competing with the venue down the street that is doing that. And you mentioned Ponte. Ponte is one of those that has a quote unquote coordinator. That's their terms, not necessarily mine. That's included with the package. And if it's included, well, why then do I need, why do I need to then go hire Lauren as the personal coordinator if I've got Lauren, the venue coordinator, working with me? And there is a very distinct, at some point I want to get a venue manager and a personal coordinator side by side so that they can just, steel cage battle royal to the death. And that's obviously a term used for comedic effect, but I really do believe that the two can coexist, and there doesn't need to be the controversy. They can find their little spaces. The venue coordinator can support the venue and the couple, and the private coordinator can do both as well.
Yeah, I think TCI is a good role model for that.
Yep. Well, thank you, Lauren. Now the moment we have all been waiting for. It is time for your Fast Five. These are 5 questions that are going to shock the wedding world, and we're going to settle controversies that have been raging for too long. We are going to get venue coordinator and personal coordinators living together, because we have finally solved these. Are you ready?
I'm terrified. I don't know what you're going to ask me, but I'm ready.
Well, here we go. Best song about dogs: Hound Dog by Elvis or Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men?
Who Let the Dogs Out, always.
That is absolutely correct. It was close. Hound Dog by Elvis is a classic, but Who Let the Dogs Out is, it's iconic, and it is a pop culture reference in and amongst itself. Best Real Housewife.
Ooh. I think Tamra Judge, because I have her phone number because I met her a few months ago.
That is absolutely correct for that exact reason.
Yeah.
Because when I sit there and go, who's the best housewife? I'm like, well, who's the one that I could potentially get on the phone the quickest? Because, enough wine or, next coin op function that we get together. Hey, Lauren, let's call Tamra. And Lauren would be like, well, yes, let's do it.
Do it.
More fun, Insta stories or TikTok?
Oh, Insta stories, because I'm terrified of TikTok.
That is actually correct for that exact same reason. Even though I believe that the real answer, if I asked anybody else, would be TikTok. But no, Insta stories, totally. Guilty pleasure.
Oh God, I have so many, and they're all hitting me right now in quarantine. It's shows, it's movies, it's online shopping on Amazon, which I know everybody else is doing too. But
is it to the point where it doesn't even matter what you're ordering, just as long as it's got Prime shipping?
You know, my Amazon cart consistently has like $300 in it, and I just haven't placed the order yet, but I just keep adding things to it and taking things away. So yeah, as long as it's Prime and as long as I don't have to wait too long.
All right, and lastly, biggest 2020 villain: coronavirus, Jessica from Love Is Blind,
oh my God,
or Carole Baskin.
You know, I can't answer this question. You know how I feel about all three of these.
You cannot plead the fifth.
Okay, this is going to be really controversial, but not coronavirus, because if it wasn't for coronavirus, I probably wouldn't know Jessica or Carole. I feel like I have to go with Carole. Carole, I need more.
That is absolutely correct. The actual ranking is Carole Baskin, Jessica from Love Is Blind, and then coronavirus.
What about Murder Hornets? We haven't even touched
Murder
on
Hornets. That wait, spoiler alert, that's next week's episode. It's like what can they hit it what can they hit us with next? And so on the Carole Baskin note, we're in my community. It's a small little gated community. I'm not going to say where because I don't need people showing up on my doorstep.
Okay.
As I dive deeper into this, people are going to immediately know. For the kids, a while back they did a bear hunt. So you put a bear in the window, and then you drive around and you find all of the bears in the window. Well, then over the last weekend they did a zoo. So people would put some kind of animal out in their front yard in like a zoo function, and they'd have like a poster board with facts on the animal. Well, the Tiger House had a picture of it's Joe Exotic, right?
Yeah.
Of him holding a tiger, and their tiger facts were tiger facts, but the 10th fact that they had was Carole Baskin chopped up her husband and fed it to a tiger. My kids are like, I don't get that one, and you never will.
You should let him watch it. I think it's character development.
Well, and on that note, thank you, Lauren, so much. This is exactly what I thought it would be. This was absolute fun and no prep whatsoever. We just dove into this, and after a couple technical difficulties, we were able to, I think, come up with a pretty coherent podcast where I certainly had a good time.
Yeah, I think you should probably preface this with people need to get a drink before they watch this.
Maybe we'll put that in the disclaimer at the beginning. So grab that glass of your favorite adult beverage and go from there. And again, you know, I seriously, there's going to be people that as I go through this, I'm going to have on multiple times, and you, I knew you were going to be one of them. And we'll do the watch alongs and all that. So whenever I'm hurting for content, I'm like, okay, I just need to get Lauren computer fixed, and then get her on so that we can go through this again.
Excited to be your last resort.
Thank you ever so much, Lauren. This was an absolute blast. I hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did.
Oh, thank you.
Once again, we want to thank Lauren for taking some time out to talk to us, and hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. I know I've been looking forward to this interview to get out there for a while now, because I have a lot of fun talking to Lauren, and we're going to do those watch alongs. That's going to be great. The first time I will ever watch The Bachelor, we'll have Lauren on, and we're going to do a watch along, because I think someone's going to need to explain it to me. So that was this week's episode of WedCast. We've got a great show coming up for you next week. Next week's going to be a little bit of a different show. I'm not going to have an interview. I'm just going to sit down and tell a story. This is behind the scenes. I will refer to these as down the rabbit hole episodes, because I will pick a topic and I'm just going to start blabbering and make some sense out of it at all. So we're going to be talking about grand entrances next week, and we hope you enjoy that. We're also planning on recording another Untitled music project, and I'm looking to record that Wednesday night. So this is what you've got to look forward to next week. Regular well, not regular. but a very special WedCast on our regular Wednesday date. And then that evening, I'm going to go into the studio and I'm going to record an Untitled Music project, which hopefully will be up Thursday. That's a lot of content for you guys, and I hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're having as much fun as I'm having doing it. You can find us all over the place. We're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on Google Play. So wherever you're getting us, subscribe. That helps us out immensely. And if you have some platforms have the ability to interact with the show, leave a comment or something like that. If you have the ability to do that, please do. I know on iTunes you can't really leave a comment, but you can leave you can leave us a review. That's ever so grateful. You can find us online all over the place. Facebook, C Squared Radio is the home of the C Squared Radio podcast network, and that kind of funnels both for WedCast and the Untitled Music Project. Untitled Music Project is hosted on Anchor, and then it's distributed to Spotify and all the other networks that we're on. The archives are at csquaredradio.com under the WedCast link, as well as the archives for the Untitled Music Project are there as well. And of course, the DJ company that I own, C Squared Events, that's csquaredevents.com, and our Instagram is C Squared DJ. So thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next week.